afternoon. My name is Christian Volquartz, and I am the only living child of my father Per and my mother Rebecca Volquartz. I would like to thank Frank Su Huang from China, who is a very close friend of my father's, for his beautiful performance of Ave Maria on the cello. Thank you very much, Frank. I would also like to thank everyone here today who has come to celebrate the memory and the life of my father. I can think of no better way to celebrate his life and his memory than today. Today, July 30th, 2011, is my father's 64th birthday. Happy birthday, Daddy.
Happy birthday, Dad.
My father lived his life exactly as he wanted to. Many of you know that he had a history of health-related challenges, but none of those challenges ever prevented him from pursuing what he loved to do most. He lived every minute of every day doing exactly what he loved to do. His career made him into an adventurer and an explorer that brought him to all four corners of the earth. He was born on July 30th, 1947, in Denmark. In the 1970s, he came right here to Pasadena to study at Art Center College of Design. As a father and a husband, his love knew no limits. His wisdom knew no boundaries. And his optimism and infectious humor were always ever present, even in the most challenging of times. It is for those reasons that I so greatly love him.
Hello. My name is Jan. I'm Per's brother from Denmark. Some of you know a lot of Per's life in the United States, and some of you do not know so much. I would like to give you a brief impression of Per's life when he was a little boy until he left for the States. As Christian said, Per was born in 1947 in a town called Herning in the middle of Denmark, a town with 25,000 inhabitants. Our father was a cabinet maker, the best in town, and a very creative person too. Our mother was a housewife. She should take care of the house and the two children. Very soon, our parents found out that Per had a very special talent for drawing and painting. Sometimes, when our mother was busy with some housework and Per wanted to go to the bathroom, it happened. She put him on a part and gave him a pencil and a drawing pad. Then he could sit here making drawings for hours. I'm sure that Per had a red circle in his little butt. When Per was 17 years old, he began an education to become an advertising designer in Randers. This education took 3 years. One evening he was home quite late. He told me there was arranged a competition in Denmark with the title "Keep Denmark Clean." Then he took a small box of matches, and on the back side he drew an illustration of the design. 2 months later, he was invited to Copenhagen to receive the first prize as a winner of the competition. February the 1st, 1968, Per went to Los Angeles, and the intention was that he should stay here for 6 months. As our mother said once, he forgot to come home.
My name is Bron Smith, and I have the distinct, unique designation of being one of the few people that knew Per before he met Becky. it was pointed out to me just before the service today that I've known Per for 44 years. I met Per about the time that Hollis Cotton did. Per was one of my closest friends at the Arts Center. And after I left the Arts Center, I moved into what became known as, some of you may have heard of, Gramercy Towers in Hollywood. We referred to it as the Cockroach Castle. And that's where I lived. And Per, being a close friend, had, by that time, Hollis and Per had set up their studio in Pasadena. And Per invited me to move to Pasadena and become part of what I referred to as the studio gang. And I spent 11 years in Pasadena, got married here to my lovely wife, Jackie, and at times when we wanted to go up to Washington, Christmas with the family, we had Christmas with Per and Becky and Christian. And so I have many fond memories, too many to mention, of the many years that I spent with Per. Per and I occupied the living room of the mansion that was our studio. He was on the west side and I was on the east side, so we had, I guess, hundreds or perhaps thousands of hours of fascinating conversation and what we called Oilers all-nighters, and just many memories. But one brief anecdote, the Redwoods have been mentioned before in the documentary. I was one of those 5 trips with Per up to the Redwoods. And he was shooting and I was helping him shoot an introduction for an ABC made-for-television movie. He was shooting the intro for the movie, and I was his grip. And Per made the mistake of shooting up all of his film, leaving about 5 feet of film for the most important sequence, which involved turning, it was a biblical film, and the idea was turning the page of the Bible, and it had to turn, and then the camera comes in tight on that page, in the beginning and so on. So I'm the designated page turner.
So he started eating crackers and peanut butter to stay alive so he could, pay for his room. And so when I found out about that, I said, well, why don't you come and stay with me? And so that's how we became friends. There was a day when Per didn't show up for class. And, he was very punctual. He always showed up for class. That day was, so I, when I got back, I said, well, where were you? What happened? And he says, it was a holiday. And I said, a holiday? What holiday? And he said, well, it was the king's birthday. And I guess Becky kept telling Per, I love Denmark, I was there and all of that. And she explained all about how Denmark, how beautiful it was. And then after she was all done, Per informed her that she was talking about Sweden. And with the interiors, we combined all of the waiting rooms together into one big sort of a mall down the middle. And that, by the way, was designed by some Art Center people who are here. Ron Crosswick over here, and Tony Palazzolo back there somewhere. And part of that design was to have murals. We got our inspiration for what it should look like by looking at books from Ansel Adams. So then we got Per to shoot the pictures. I remember Per very well in school. He was the best there was in the school. He could draw, he could paint, his photography was great. He did all sorts of sculptures and everything. Tremendous artist, great talent. He will be sorely missed.